What up, you guys? It's Black 2040. Welcome back to the Power Rangers Marathon, everybody. Today, my review is going to be on one of the most underrated and, dare I also say, underappreciated seasons in the Power Rangers franchise. That's right, today's review is going to be on Power Rangers Jungle Fury. And this season is so overlooked, underrated, it's so unappreciated, it's just like swept under the rug. And I have one thing to say. Don't sleep on Jungle Fury. Watch it. Watch it all. Watch it. That's all I gotta say about Jungle Fury. I'm kidding. I'm gonna keep on going. But oh man. Jungle Fury is definitely a season that's up there. It's definitely top 10. Heck, I would even say it's top 5. As short as it is definitely, I would say, top 5, top 10 seasons of Power Rangers. Reason why I say that is because, one, martial arts, and boy, these martial arts scenes are hardcore fight scenes. Also, the life lessons. I know Power Rangers is known for is like, moral of the week or moral of the episode. No, but if you look deeper into Jungle Fury, the morals, the lessons that the Rangers learn, those are life lessons for sure. Like, you really need to pay close attention to the life lessons that are given during the season. And one episode that stood out for me is episode 10, where Theo's getting trained by Master Swoop, and there's something that Master Swoop says that really hits home a lot. So I recommend you guys, check this season out. Now, first off, like I usually say, let's talk about these suits. I like these suits. Really, the first time I saw these suits, the stripe printing on the suits, and the battle cuffs on the gloves and on the kung fu boots, it just looks stylish and so sleek and clean, so clean. I just love these suits. They're mad clean. And man, oh man, and each suit, contributes something different. Like, for instance, RJ's suit has a lot of knee pads and elbow pads, because his fighting style is mainly focusing on Muay Thai. Muay Thai is a martial arts combat skill that requires, the usage of, elbows and knees, and of course fists as well. But mainly the knees and the elbows grant more strength to the attacker. And of course, Dominik's, costume, his is a little different. Of course, his main weapon is his Rhino Morpher or / Rhino Blade. And of course, I love how it's basically, fingers, because, chop, because his Sentai counterpart, his name is Geki Chopper. So, a chopping weapon, which is still cool, by the way. And I also gotta give props to, the Spirit Ranger suits. Man, oh man, I love these suits. And the Spirit Rangers are probably one of my favorite aspects of the show. Now, I know they did come in late, but it's funny though, I remember seeing these suits as toys. They came out as toys first, and later on in the season, they get, we get more American-made Rangers, and I love that. I freaking love that. But I'm ranting on and on about the suits and everything. So let's talk about this story as a whole. So basically, our story begins at an academy called Paishwa, and Paishwa is an organization called the Order of the Claw that teaches students in Kung Fu and to find their specific animal spirits. We also open up on our 3 future Rangers. Let's see. Casey, our future Red Ranger. Lily, who's our Yellow Ranger. And Theo, who is our Blue Ranger. And also, we open it on another individual named Jared, who is basically like the school bully, and who kind of picks on Casey a lot for, since Casey's title is basically known as a cub, so he's basically known as a beginner, and Jared ranks higher above him. So, later on, in the beginning of the story, the Rangers their first master, Master Mao, addresses that Casey, Theo, and Lily have been chosen to become protective guardians in case the evil Daishi, who was an evil spirit that the Order of the Claw had to defeat way back in the Ancient Beast War. So now, since these three have been chosen, in case Daishi ever rises again. And then Jared steps in, kind of gets angry at Master Mao because he's getting kicked out. He opens the box that Daishi was hidden in, and Jared becomes a permanent human host for Daishi, and Master Mao gets defeated. So the Rangers travel to the city of Ocean Bluff, where they meet RJ, their mentor and new master, and continues their training and helps them become Power Rangers. And as the story progresses, of course, RJ ends up becoming a Ranger. Dominik enters into the show. He becomes a Ranger. And as well, the main three also get trained in many different weapon skills, learning many different animal spirits. And that's the key point I find amazing about the show, the animal spirits. Having a specific animal spirit, and each person who has that specific spirit fights in that specific style. And that is one of the most beautiful things I find about this season. And it's really, really amazing. So, of course, the evil Daishi clan, of course, which Jared / Daishi are in charge of, and he has his female assistant, Camille, who has the spirit of the chameleon. Jared has the spirit of the lion. So when Daishi, took a hold of Jared, let's just say his lion spirit kind of basically got amplified a little bit more. So Daishi plans to destroy the city of Ocean Bluff, gathering fear so that we can, destroy the world. And, typical villain, destroy the world thing. So that's basically the story of the season. And from beginning to end, the story moves forward a lot. I mean, it doesn't, it doesn't stop. It really doesn't take no time to stop. Because I know I did say in my Mystic Force review, the problem with Mystic Force is that the show, that season never got a chance to breathe. With Jungle Fury, it keeps the story moving forward. Same thing like how it did in Overdrive. The story always keeps moving forward. And not everyone develops, but that's okay. That's okay. Majority of development does come from the main three. RJ gets development. The villains get, development as well. It is just a beautiful, beautiful story. Alright, so let's jump into these characters. Our first character is Casey, who is the Red Ranger and who has the spirit of the tiger. Now, Casey is someone who feels very doubtful of himself, and I could very much relate to Casey. Casey is, he's, considered a cub, and he feels like he's not up to the task. And when it comes to moments where he feels like he can't do it, he always has the motivation of his friends, from RJ, to push him to do better. And every time he does get better. And there are moments throughout the season where he feels like, when Lily and Casey both got new masters to teach them new weapons, and Casey always felt left out because he never got a new master to train him. And then when his new master came, he just felt ready to, take on new things. But my favorite moment for Casey is that when it came to the final arc of the show, and the main three were trying to earn their master title, and Casey didn't pass the test, he does have his shining moment where he has to go to Daishi's lair by himself and face off Jared on his own. And that fight scene in itself is so beautifully choreographed. The wire work, especially the wire work in the show, is just amazing. And it's just so, it's so gut-wrenching, it's so freaking cool. It's just epic in itself. The determination that Casey has to go back and help someone who basically kind of treated him badly, he decides to, he gives him, forgiveness. And that's awesome. And that's what also helps Casey reach his, his master title. And of course, Casey also controls the, he does get special assistance from the gorilla spirit from his master in the spirit world, and the shark's spirit. And when it comes to the spirits, I'm gonna get to the other masters when I talk about the other characters. So that's Casey. Casey's basically a GOAT Red Ranger, underrated and a GOAT. All right, next Ranger is Theo. Theo is what you would call someone who's very another by the book Ranger, who's someone who's a neat freak and always strives to be perfect. that's one thing I could also relate to, because if we were all perfect, it will all be easy. If it would the world everything was easy, we will all be able to do it like that. But here's the thing. Theo needs to learn how he doesn't always have to be perfect. He shouldn't strive to perfection. And he learns that he has to understand, like, hey, my flaws are a part of me, and I'm not always going to be perfect. And he also learns that with Casey, when, Casey's struggling to learn a new weapon, and Theo's jealous, is kind of, frustrated that how is it we can't all move on unless Casey doesn't move on. So that's one thing he has to understand. And of course, his little, kind of side bit relationship that he has with Lily that happens at the very end. It was hinted that, Theo has a huge crush on Lily, but it kind of appears up a little too late. But other than that, Theo is still, I would say, he's another one of my favorite Blue Rangers. And he also holds the spirit of the Jaguar. He's quick. And I love how when he fights, he's always, using, martial arts yells. And it's just awesome. Every time he goes, "Wata!" It's just awesome. I love it. Alright, next up is Lily. I love Lily. Really, she is amazing. I always underestimated Lily sometimes, but Lily, she's basically, yes, she's the girl of the team, but she is the heavy heart of the team. She always likes to see the good in people. She's always there to, give someone helping advice, and she never gives up on people. Really, she doesn't. Even when it came time to her to learn a new weapon from one of the other Paichua masters, she never gave up on her master, ever. And that's one of Lily's, standing out points. And she's beautiful. She's really beautiful. And also she holds the spirit of the cheetah. And I just love her positivity. Always. She's just always positive. She's always there to lend a helping hand, no matter what. Lily's just awesome. Really, that's really... Alright, next up is RJ. RJ, of course, is the first Purple Ranger in Power Rangers. And he's my second favorite mentor who also becomes a Ranger. And his suit looks fly. I remember the first time I saw RJ morph, I'm like, a Purple Ranger in Power Rangers? Is that even possible? Because we always gotten, like, red, blue, green, pink, and yellow. And sometimes we also got black, we also got gold, we got silver, but we never got purple as a Ranger color. And RJ changed the game when he became a Ranger. And I feel he is one of the best mentors in Power Rangers history. He really is. And I love his arc with his father, how he feels like, his father was upset with him because he didn't fall under his father's footsteps, because he wanted to learn his own, animal spirit. And his spirit is the spirit of the wolf. And I love his arc on how he has to deal with, his animal spirit going out of control, which makes, which turns him into a werewolf. But then he slowly starts to, get control of his spirit, because he knows the spirit is a part of him. And only he is the one that's in control of it. No one else can take that away from him. And I just love his mellow personality. I just love his, advice that he gives. RJ's awesome. Alright, our next character is Dominik. The problem with Dominik is he came too late. Really, he came in way too late in the show. And I will say, Dominik is what you consider. He's basically a nomad. He likes to travel the world. He was part of Paichua, and then Master Mao gave him, I'm about to say the spirit dagger, but the control dagger. There we go. He gave him the control dagger, and Master Mao told him he will find his destiny with this. And of course, he continues to travel the world, and when he came to Ocean Bluff, he feels like his destiny is to help the other Rangers. So he becomes the Rhino Ranger. And of course, he gets his own Zord, the Rhino Steel Zord. And he also starts to form, he has a fond, loving for books. He loves to read. He loves to learn. He just loves to travel. He's a bit of a goof, a bit. But when it comes to getting serious, Dom knows when to get serious. It's just, I wish I wish they did a little bit more with him. But he's still a great character, though. I still like him. Alright, now let's move on to allies. So our first ally is Master Mao. Master Mao is, the headmaster of Paichua. His spirit is basically, I would say it's a cat. But the thing is, the spirit that he has, that he transforms to into the final battle, that's basically, that animal was also the main mentor in the Sentai counterpart, Geki Ranger. But Master Mao, of course, isn't really around a lot during the show. He does pop up from time to time if the Rangers need guidance. And that's, that's about it about Master Mao. He's still a cool character, though. Our next character is Master Fant, who holds the spirit of the elephant. But before I continue about Master Fant, just a small bit of moment of silence, because the actor who played Master Fant passed away earlier this year, so a bit of a moment of silence for him. Thank you. So, Master Mao is what you call a Paichua master who kind of basically, fell off the grid. He didn't want to, continue fighting or anything. And when I said about Lily saying how she, she doesn't give up on people, Master Fant is one of those people that she never gave up on. And so when he felt like, Lily is determined to learn this new weapon, which is basically the jungle mace, he decides to, to get off his lazy butt, help Lily with teach Lily the weapon, and, to give the other Rangers the spirit of the elephant to help them out. And our next Paichua master is Master Swoop. Master Swoop, who holds the spirit of the bat. He's also blind, but he always carries a fan around with him. And like I said about Master Swoop, I feel like Master Swoop is one of my favorite of the Paichua masters. Even though he's blind, I love, the lessons that he gives Theo. I love the lessons that he gives Theo in his, in his focus episode, and how just the meaning of, the matters of patience and just taking it one step at a time, living in the moment, just taking it all in. And that's one of the reasons why I love Master Swoop. Alright, next Paichua master, Master Finn. Master Finn holds the spirit of the shark, and he is also RJ's father. So like I said, he was, of course, very disappointed in RJ because RJ never got to take up the spirit of the shark just like him. But when he realized that, RJ holds the spirit of the wolf, he becomes, alright, he becomes more accepting of his son taking on his own steps and following his own destiny. And Power Rangers has a knack about, following your own destiny. And I love that. I really love that. And of course, I love his weapon of choice, which is, the shark sabers. And they are so freaking cool. Alright, now for the next batch of masters. These next three masters are not really, they're only around during a two-parter and of course the final episode of the season. So first other Paichua master is Masterilla, who holds the spirit of the gorilla. He basically tests Casey, to see his fear, because there's a two-part episode arc where the Rangers, they kind of get a little bit, cocky, but, Daishi calls them out, so the Rangers try to fight Daishi, they get their butts kicked, and so the Rangers are in need of new power. So, the Masterilla and two other masters who I'm going to mention later on, give the Rangers a test on their fear. And Casey's test was, the fear of, thinking there's a monster in your closet. And, of course, Casey overcomes his fear, and Masterilla gives Casey the spirit of the gorilla. Alright. Next is Masterlope, who controls the spirit of the antelope, and also gives Theo a test of his fear. And Theo's fear was, singing on stage and thinking he might end up being a fool. But, he does end up passing the test again. And, of course, that's basically it. And next, well, the last Paichua master I need to mention is Master Gwen. And cool thing about Master Gwen is that this is also the actress who played her in SPD, the actress who played Dr. Kat Manx. I find that really cool that they decided to bring her back for this. Really, really cool. And of course, her spirit is the spirit of the penguin. And of course, she gives Lily the test of passing her fears, which Lily's fear is basically arachnophobia. And of course, she does end up conquering her fear. And she also grants Lily the spirit of the penguin. Okay, those are the masters. Let's move on to the other allies. Next ally is, excuse me, Fran. Fran is, I would say, she's kind of like the odd girl, but, you know, she loves to read, and, of course, she discovers the Rangers' identities on her own because every time when there's trouble and the Rangers had to leave, they always had to leave Fran to, you know, watch the pizza store and, you know, take care of everything else, and she always gets, you know, sad every time, like, where do they go? But, of course, Fran has a huge liking for Dominik. Dominik has a huge liking for her. And of course, at the end of the show, they both decide to travel Europe together. And she's a very friendly person. And even when she comes to, you know, finding out the Ranger's identity, she doesn't reveal it to everybody else in the world, but she does keep it a secret. And she's very appreciative of what the other Rangers have done for the city. All right, next is Flit. Flit is, well, was a human warrior who was fighting against Camille. Camille put a spell on him by turning him into a fly, and then he's been in Camille's stomach for a long, long time. And if he stays out of Camille's stomach for so long, he will fade away. So the thing about Flit is, anytime there was a Megazord battle, he will always be like, you know, a commentator and say, you know, give the play-by-play of the Megazord battle. I always found that very cool and interesting. And of course, as the season progresses, that starts to diminish a bit. And I'm not mad at that. I really am. I'm not mad at that. But I always like the detail of Flit, you know, giving the play-by-play of, you know, of the Megazord battles. I always find that kind of cool. Alright, now on to the villains. Daishi / Jared. It was hard for me to put this because I didn't know whether to put Jared and Camille in allies. Well, they start out as villains, but they come allies literally at the very end of the show. So I guess villains is a perfect place to put them. Now, of course, like I said, Daishi is the main antagonist, but Jared, of course, is the human vessel for Daishi. And the thing about Jared is, he's basically all alone. His development, you just think of him as just, you know, a typical bully who's, you know, messing with Casey, and he's just all evil inside. But it turns out, as the show progresses, when he tries to get new power, you learn more about himself, how, you know, he never really had any friends. Jared was basically a loner. Dominik was friends with Jared when he first came to the Paishawa Academy, and he basically had no one. He never really opened himself up, and no one really, you know, took him in. His parents was barely even around. So, you know, he has basically, you know, a tragic past. And when Casey decides to forgive him of his sins, he starts to appreciate it, and he realizes that even though of all the bad things he's done when Daishi took him over, he's able to put that behind him and join the Rangers in their fight against evil. And that's what I call true development and a good redemption arc. As much as it happens, you know, at the end, I still feel okay with it. And I have no problem with that at all. Alright, next is Camille. Camille has the spirit of the chameleon. She's basically Daishi. She has a huge love for Daishi, but I feel like Camille she's been through a lot. And what I mean by that is because she gets battered, and she always gets, like, abused. Like, really abused by the generals, not by Daishi, but mainly by the generals. Like, they always keep calling her incompetent and worthless. And then anytime she wants to, you know, her loyalty is straight up for Daishi. And then when Jared starts to, you know, come to his own, both of them starts, you know, to develop feelings for each other. And, you know, even Lily starts to, you know, she sees the good in her. And Camille also realizes that maybe she really isn't all that bad. And at the end, when she decides to, you know, help the other Rangers out, it does come full circle at the end. Alright. Next up is the 5 Fingers of Poison. Now, these guys are basically 5 animal spirits that also contain poison attributes. You have Stingerella, who has the spirit of the scorpion. You have Naja, who has the spirit of the cobra. You have Gekor, spirit of the gecko. You have Toady, the spirit of the toad. And you have Rantipede, the spirit of the centipede. And their arc is basically just, like I said, they're like 5 elite warriors who work for Daishi. Of course, they get their butts kicked. And I love how each of them have a different attribution of poison, and especially different way on how to defeat the Rangers. Of course, they're not around very long, especially like for a character like Naja, who wanted to strike out on his own and betray Daishi, but of course Daishi got rid of him anyway. But I still find them formidable characters as well. Next up are the Overlords. Now these guys are brutal. I wouldn't say brutal. They are brutal, but man, they have them. I would say they do have their shining moments. You have Carnosaur, who has the spirit of the falcon. You have Jellica, the spirit of the jellyfish, and Grisaka, who has the spirit of the bear. Now, Grisaka has this special technique called Zokato that's able to, resurrect other warriors, and Daishi was also trying to learn this. Jared was trying to learn this technique as well, and Daishi and Grisaka hate each other with a passion. And of course, there were moments where the Overlords were trying to, break off from Daishi and step out on their own. There is so much discord amongst the ranks and villains. It's crazy. But of course, the Rangers do end up getting more power as the story progresses, and they're able to defeat the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers are able to defeat the Overlords. I'm so sorry. But really, I find them very, very formidable. But they're not as formidable as the next batch of villains I'm about to bring up, and that is the Phantom Beast. The three Phantom Beast generals: Scorch, who has the spirit of the Avalon Dragon; Snapper, the spirit of the Snapping Turtle; and Weiger, the spirit of the White Tiger. Now, these 3 generals, who really, when Jellica brought them back to life, they straight up destroyed her. Really, they just really got rid of her with an instant. And they wanted to make, Daishi their Phantom Beast King. So they power up Daishi with this new technique called Rinzen Power. And of course, they give the same Rinzen Power to Camille as well. So they both get an upgrade. But even as the story progresses, Weiger was given the task to take Casey's spirit, which he does take, but he does end up getting, embarrassed by his defeat, because Casey was also trying to get his spirit back, and Daishi pretty much disowned him for his failure. And so he saw the good in Casey and how much he was trying to help him, so he kind of defects from Daishi and also ends up getting destroyed. Now, Snapper and Scorch, they basically were also trying to they were trying to separate Camille and Daishi, because they feel like, the human side of Jared was starting to take over again, and, they feel like Camille would become, a problem in their plans. But of course, the Rangers end up defeating both of those characters, and that's basically it. So those are all the characters. Like I said, Jungle Fury is a very, very underrated season, but I might have to say it is GOAT. It really is GOAT. I love the fight choreography. I love the wire work. I love the development of the characters. I love the life lessons in this show. It is beyond beautiful. It is great. I seriously suggest you guys watch Power Rangers Jungle Fury. You will not be disappointed. Really, just give it if you haven't watched Jungle Fury, I recommend checking it out and giving it a chance. You will actually like it. So anyway, that's my review for Jungle Fury. So in the comment section below, what was your favorite thing about Jungle Fury? Who's your favorite character? What was your favorite, monster of the week? Or who had your, your favorite animal spirit? And let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to be notified. And stay tuned for my final review of the Disney era, which will be Power Rangers RPM. Now, I'm going to be actually looking forward to watching Power Rangers RPM again, because I have some things about RPM that I want to share with you guys. But until then, I am Vengeance, I am Darkness, I am Blackwing. Stay golden, and may the power protect you.